At 9 o'clock on Monday morning, every person in the business is already busy. By Friday, the team has worked late, the order book is full, and profit has barely moved. Delivery is slower, customers need chasing, and the next opportunity is being declined because nobody has the time to handle it. That's not necessarily a capacity problem. It may be a waste problem wearing a capacity problem's clothes. Businesses don't stop growing by accident. They stop growing because leaders miss what's really holding them back. Welcome to Why Businesses Stop Growing, the podcast for business owners, CEOs, and investors who want to build stronger, more profitable, and more valuable businesses. I'm Chris Wimshurst, commercial growth advisor and founder of Hawthorne Advisory. Today we're looking at the busy business trap. Why does visible activity become a growth constraint? What should you do about it without simply pushing people harder or cutting roles? And why does the distinction matter to revenue, margin, leadership resilience, and business value? So what, right? Let's pick the sweet corner out of that. Start with an uncomfortable distinction. Someone can be occupied for 8 hours and create very little value. A team can complete hundreds of tasks while customer experience, cash, and gross margin get no better. A full diary is not proof of performance. Neither is a crowded warehouse, a queue of internal requests, or a manager who never has time to think. Visible activity is persuasive because it looks like commitment. Leaders reward responsiveness. They praise the person who always says yes. Another urgent order gets squeezed into an overloaded schedule and everyone feels relieved. Then a valuable opportunity arrives and the answer is, we haven't got the capacity. But capacity doesn't only disappear in the obvious places. It disappears when work is done incorrectly and has to be revisited. When information is missing and 3 people spend half an hour finding it. When a report is duplicated, an approval is repeated, or a meeting exists because nobody trusts the process. And here's the expensive bit. A decision gets made, challenged, reversed, explained again, and brought back to the leadership team a fortnight later. That isn't just irritating. It's a recurring charge against your least replaceable capacity, senior attention. Then there's profit work. Not every customer is a good customer. Some jobs create revenue, but demand constant customization, produce disputes, and consume so much management time that the margin looks attractive only until you count the rescue work around it. The team looks busy because the business is carrying complexity. It never priced properly. This is how local efficiency can hide system-wide waste. Sales wins the order. Operations struggles with the brief. Finance discovers the margin is unclear. The customer says nobody explained what would happen next. 4 departments appear to have separate problems, but often it's one broken commercial handoff. So how do you see the difference between productive capacity and busyness? Run a capacity audit, not a timesheet exercise, not a hunt for somebody to blame. Take a representative period, perhaps the last 2 weeks, and look at where time and attention went. Then connect that work to what it produced. Imagine a 12-person maintenance business. Over 10 working days, the team records 42 hours of rework, 18 hours chasing missing information, 11 hours producing reports nobody uses, and only 9 hours improving a process that could increase future output. Everyone is working hard, yet the business has a serious usable capacity problem. Classify the work in 4 groups. First, value-creating work, activity that supports revenue, customer outcomes, delivery, retention, margin, or business value. Second, necessary support, finance controls, compliance, scheduling, and essential management information. Necessary does not mean untouchable. It still deserves good design. Third, failure demand, work caused by something not being right the first time. Rework, chasing, complaints, corrections, rebooking, and repeated explanations. Fourth, low value activity, work that consumes capacity without making a meaningful contribution. An unnecessary report, an approval with no real control, a meeting with no decision, a service variation that should never have been accepted. Do the audit with the people doing the work, not just the people managing it. Ask 3 simple questions. Where does work come back? What do you have to chase? Which interruption happens again and again? Listen for patterns rather than isolated complaints. If 5 people describe the same problem differently, you may have found the same constraint from 5 angles. Then quantify the impact. How many hours are lost? How much margin is consumed by exceptions? Which customer types generate the most intervention? Where does work wait? And what valuable output is being prevented? Rank each issue by hours lost, margin affected, and ease of prevention. Start with the issue that scores highest across all 3, not the one that annoys the loudest person. Now find the real constraint. This is where businesses often make an expensive mistake. Delivery is waiting for complete briefs, so they hire another delivery person. Sales is filling the pipeline with poor fit work, so they hire another salesperson. Leadership decisions are trapped at the top, so someone schedules another planning meeting. Absolutely not. Before adding capacity, identify where value is actually being blocked. Trace the work from demand to cash. Where does a prospect become a customer? Where does a promise become a job? Where does a job become an invoice? At each point, look for delay, rework, unclear ownership, and information that has to be recreated. Growth is often blocked between functions rather than inside them. Be careful with averages too. An average margin can conceal a handful of accounts consuming all the management effort. An average delivery time can hide one customer segment that damages the system every week. An average utilization rate can make a team look efficient while its most valuable work is constantly interrupted. But demand for what? At what margin? With how much rescue work attached? Once you know the constraint, act in order. First, remove recurring failure demand. Tighten the brief. Improve the handoff. Define acceptance criteria. Stop a preventable error at its source instead of congratulating the team for correcting it quickly. Second, protect high-value capacity. If your best commercial people spend every day answering routine, internal questions, that is not a badge of accessibility. It's a design problem. Clarify decision rights, create routes for routine issues, and reserve leadership attention for consequential decisions. Third, make the standard visible. What must be present when work changes hands? What can be decided without escalation? Which customer or job is outside the model? If the answers live only in somebody's head, the business is relying on heroics rather than a system. Fourth, measure outcomes. First time right delivery, profitable revenue, cycle time, retention, cash conversion, issues that return. Hours worked may be relevant, but hours occupied are not the objective. If you optimize occupation, you can make waste more efficient and give the audit a decision date. Pick the two largest sources of wasted capacity, assign an owner and test one intervention for 30 days. At the review, compare output, margin, customer experience and leadership time. If nothing improved, change the intervention. Don't produce a beautiful spreadsheet and call that progress. This is why technology can disappoint. If the process is unclear, technology may process the wrong work faster. If the customer promise is poorly defined, a new system will not make it profitable, and if decisions are trapped at the top, another dashboard will not create accountability. The same applies to headcount. More people may be necessary. But if every new person inherits the same broken handoffs, you have not solved the constraint. You have enlarged the cost of doing the wrong work. Fix the system first where you can, then invest in people where the evidence shows genuine demand and a clear return. Why does all this matter beyond operational tidiness? Because productive capacity is commercial capacity. Remove, rework, and margin improves. Improve the handoff, and customers receive a more reliable experience. Reduce unnecessary escalation and leaders have room to think. Protect valuable work and the business can grow without depending on a few exhausted people. It matters to investors and future buyers as well. A business that grows only because its owners and senior team absorb every exception is not as valuable as the revenue suggests. Buyers look for repeatability, dependable margins, clear accountability, and performance that doesn't require constant rescue. So before your next hiring request, take 2 weeks of work and classify it. Value creating, necessary support, failure demand, low value activity. Find the largest source of failure demand, trace a constraint from demand to cash, give someone ownership, and review the result in 30 days. Don't ask who needs to work harder. Ask which valuable outcome is being crowded out. If this episode made you look differently at a full calendar or a crowded order book, follow Why Businesses Stop Growing and share it on social media. Send it to the owner, CEO, or senior leader whose business is busy, capable, and still somehow not moving forward. Thanks for listening. Until next time, keep asking why.